Welcome to Meals with Maria. It feels so good to say that. I am back and I am here with some slow cooker soups for you. I'm going to get into kind of why I've been gone for 6 months in a little bit, but I'm going to start off with the soups because that's really what we're here for. I'm starting off with a easy Crockpot white chicken chili. You just want to start with 2 cans of drained white beans and a couple of pounds of chicken breasts. 1 can of drained corn, a diced onion, and 2 cloves of minced garlic, but you can always use a teaspoon of garlic powder here. Then we're going to use 2 cans of diced green chilies. These give it tons of flavor. A 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin, 1/2 teaspoon of coriander, 1/2 teaspoon of oregano, a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika, and a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. And you can always put a dash of cayenne in here too to make it a little bit spicier. And don't worry, all of these recipes are down in the description box. You can just go right to my website. They're free on there. And then you also want to pour in 2 cups of chicken bone broth, or you can use water and chicken bouillon. And I love this because it is so pantry friendly. Like, you probably have most of this in your pantry already. And you could even use canned chicken in this. Like, I've done a canned chicken and corn soup before, and it is so good. So take this method, make it the chili, but use canned chicken, and you're going to be golden. And then we're just going to cover this up, and you can cook it on high for 3 hours or low up to 6 hours. I would never cook chicken in the crock pot for longer than 6 hours. It's going to be so dry. It's going to be like that scene on Christmas Vacation when they're eating the turkey. Like, you don't want to do it. So if you need to let it go for longer, I always say just make like either like a roast, like a chuck roast, or you can do a pork butt. Something like that. I have an excellent pork carnitas recipe on my website as well. So you can find that if you want to go with something that you can go like all day while you're at work. And then you're just going to open up your crock pot and you can shred that chicken. You can take it out. I find that sometimes it is actually easier to take the chicken out of the crock pot and dice it. But then sometimes I always say like I'm a glutton for punishment because I'll just do it in the crock pot and make it take forever. And then just give it a good mix, and here comes the good stuff. You want to add 8 ounces of cream cheese in here. If you want it like a little bit less creamy, like honestly, you don't even have to add the cream cheese because we're also going to add a 1/2 cup of heavy cream, or you could do 1/2 and 1/2 or milk. So you can kind of make it like as light as you want. And if you're trying to go for like a dairy-free version, you could actually add like almond milk or soy milk, whatever you'd like to use. And just give that a good stir. Then we're going to cook it for another 30 minutes. And once it's bubbly, you want to add a 1/4 cup of fresh chopped cilantro, or you could use a couple teaspoons of dried if you want, and give that a good mix. And that is the chili. Like, it is so flavorful, and it's crazy because it's really just like that really easy dump and go. There's not too much going on here. It's really fabulous, and it's amazing how much flavor comes from just cooking it in the crock pot like that. This is going to be perfect for a weeknight dinner, perfect for game day, great for a potluck. So if you have to bring something to a potluck, it's going to stay really nice warm in that crock pot if you put it on the warm setting. And then I just served mine with some shredded cheddar cheese, some jalapeno slices because I love a little spice, and some extra cilantro.
Chicken, chucky.
That's your rating? You say, is it a 5 out of 5? That's the best.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Chicken jockey.
What do you give it a rating?
5 out of 5.
Nice. All right, next up I have a creamy lasagna soup. And this is like kind of thick, so it could even be considered maybe more of a stew. And if you'd like it to be a little less thick and a little more soupy, you can just put less lasagna noodles in. So you want to start by browning a pound of ground beef, and you do have to brown this ahead of time. I don't know like if there's a good reason why we can't just put this in the crock pot, because it would cook long enough and the ground beef would cook. So I don't know, comment below if you're like, no, I just always put the ground beef in there, or maybe you know the exact reason as to why we have to do this, but I did it nonetheless. And then we're just doing jarred sauce because it's so much easier. About 16 ounces of your favorite brand. And if you have your own homemade, that's amazing too. I was going through a period of time where I was like, I'm going to make everything from scratch. But it turns out I have young kids. Like, I'm very busy. It's not going to work out for me at this time. So I think it depends on what time in life you are at. And then you want 1 can of fire roasted diced tomatoes, and 32 ounces or 4 cups of beef broth. I was able to actually find this beef broth on clearance at my local store. So just a reminder to kind of always check the clearance section, especially if you're like me and you're like, I want to get, higher quality ingredients, but I don't have all the money to spend on them and I just don't have the time to make them. So it's kind of like a compromise. Like if I can find it on sale, I think that sauce I found at Costco. So that was a deal for me. And then you're going to want a teaspoon of Italian seasoning and a half a teaspoon of onion powder, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of oregano, half a teaspoon of black pepper, half a teaspoon of salt. So all sorts of spices in there to give it lots of delicious lasagna flavor. And then we're just going to cook this on low for 6 to 7 hours. You can do high for 2 to 3. Like you don't have to go too long on it. This is one of those ones where you could do probably while you're at work and it's not going to completely be terrible if it's gone all day. And then I use the Jovial lasagna noodles. I like those a lot. They are gluten-free noodle and they're just a very clean brand. But you can use whatever type of lasagna noodles that you have or like. The amount of time, like we're going to put this for another 20 minutes in the crock pot. It's going to cook those thinner noodles. So if you wanted to, you could really use any pasta noodle that you have on hand, but just know that if you're going to be using like a thicker noodle, you may have to go a little bit longer in the crock pot. Like I've done it like with the bow tie pasta because my kids love those. It just may cook a little bit longer. So you just want to check it after 20 minutes and see how it is. And like I said, you can go, more or less noodles. I recommend this is about 9 lasagna noodles, but you could use less and make it more soupy. And then I'm just going to make this delicious cheese blend with 2 cups of ricotta cheese, a half a cup of Parmesan cheese. I really love to grate my own. I found that it's actually about the same price to just buy the block of the fresh Parmesan in the store. It takes a little bit longer to grate it yourself, but it is significantly better than buying the shaker cheese. And then I have about a tablespoon of fresh basil. And then once that 20 minutes is up, you want to go in with 2 cups of fresh spinach. You could also use frozen, but if you're going to use frozen, you probably want to put it in when you put those lasagna noodles in, just so it has time to defrost in there. And it may take a little bit longer for the noodles to cook because you're bringing down the temperature. But whatever you have on hand is going to be fine. And then we're just going to add a couple of dollops of the ricotta mixture right into the soup. And this is I thought this was so beautiful when this was mixing up. I really, really, really like that. And then actually another option is too to add some more broth if you just want to use the same amount of lasagna noodles, but you still, again, want it soupier. And then I just served mine in a bowl with a dollop of that ricotta mixture on top, some extra Parmesan, a little, basil leaf to make it look really pretty, and some crushed red pepper flakes because I love that spice. But this is like a hug in a bowl. It's so delicious, easier than layering lasagna, as much as I love that. And it is so hearty and so, so good. All right, Jada, what do you think?
5 out of 5.
Nice. Benny, what do you think?
1.
A 1?
3.
A 3?
Good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I swear these soups are just getting better and better. This is a butternut squash, sausage, and tortellini soup. All of my favorite fall flavors together. You want to start by dicing a medium onion and then add a little teaspoon of olive oil to a pan over medium-high heat. And we're going to take 12 ounces of chicken sausage and remove the casings from them. If you can get uncased sausage, that's fine too. And you don't have to use chicken sausage. I just prefer it, but you could definitely use a pork sausage. But you want to use the Italian blend flavor, like the sweet Italian. Or if you want a little spice, you could also go spicy Italian. I haven't tried that, but I bet it would be really good. And then you just want to add that onion right into the pan there and saute it until everything is fully cooked through. And then right at the end, add 2 cloves of minced garlic, or you could grate it. And then you need 2.5 cups of diced butternut squash. And you can tell me if you come up with a better way to peel butternut squash. I've tried a knife, tried a peeler. I think peeler is the best option, but honestly, the real best option is just buying the already peeled stuff at the store. But then, this was on sale for 99 cents a pound, maybe even less. I want the deal, So I go through the pain of peeling it and dicing it myself. So then you want to take out the insides and dice it into small pieces, and you have your butternut squash. But 1 whole butternut squash was actually enough to make this soup and then something. So then I tried taking the rest of it another day, and I made like that feta cheese you put in a block, and then you put the butternut squash on the outside and you cook it, and then you put orzo with it. And I thought it would be really, really good. And it was like very meh. So just so you know, I don't know. Maybe I didn't do something right. But either way, I do try recipes and sometimes they don't work out, is all I'm saying. And suddenly my sounds really strange. So here we are. We're just going to keep moving forward. So you add that cooked sausage to the bottom of a crock pot with 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, and then 1 can of fire roasted diced tomatoes. Mine were frozen because I used the second half of a can for something. And then you want to add 2.5 cups of the butternut squash. I used a Parmesan rind. You totally don't have to. I just happen to have one, so I thought I'd throw it in there. And then 32 ounces or 4 cups of chicken broth. You can always use chicken bouillon. And I even think you could use beef broth in this if that's what you had. For spices, we're doing a teaspoon of basil, a half a teaspoon of dried thyme, a half a teaspoon of dried sage. And that's going to give it all of those delicious fall flavors. A little bit of salt and pepper. Give that a good mix, and then we're going to cook this on either high for 3 hours or low for 6 to 7 hours. This one is when you don't want to go for too long on, because it will, like the squash will get too mushy, although it still tastes really good like that, so it's up to you. How beautiful is it when you take the top off of a crock pot like that and you just see that bubbly? Oh, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so when the time is up, then we're going to add in a package of tortellini and about a cup of frozen spinach. You could totally use fresh as well. I just happen to have frozen on hand, and I just love the colors in this. Like, it is so beautiful. You want to mix in a half a cup of heavy cream or half and half, and then cover it up and cook for another 30 minutes until that tortellini is tender. And you can just season it with salt and pepper to taste. This is beautiful. It is delicious. It is totally fall in a bowl. If the other two weren't already, this is definitely a must make. All right, next up we have one of my personal favorites, a restaurant style French onion soup. So I personally love to order French onion soup at a restaurant, but you know what? It's a great way for them to just use up onions and stale bread. And why wouldn't it be a great way for me also to use up those very inexpensive ingredients? This is a budget meal at its finest. Like, we're using onions and beef broth to make something that is absolutely flavorful and delicious, but like literally pennies on the dollar. So you want to slice onions, and then we're going to add those to butter in the bottom of a pan. And with this one, you want to make sure that it's really not too hot. So you want to cook it over like a medium-low heat, and it's going to take a while. I added 2 tablespoons of coconut sugar, but you could also add brown sugar. I just like, when I can use coconut sugar, to use that, because like refined sugar, it has its place, and there are some places it's delicious, like in an amazing cake. But in this case, coconut sugar is going to be just fine, and it's going to be a little bit better for my body. So I did 3 sliced onions, by the way. I think I forgot to mention that. So you want to let these simmer down for about 20 minutes until they're like fully caramelized. These are even like a little bit under. You could go even a little bit further. You can see they're a little bit cooked by the time I put them into that slow cooker. And then to that, we're just going to add, you need 64 ounces. So that's going to be 2 full containers, 8 cups of beef broth. Or again, you could use like a bouillon cubes, 8 bouillon cubes and 8 cups of water to give it all that flavor. And then we're going to add a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, a clove of garlic, and 1/3 cup of sherry, and a teaspoon of dried thyme and a bay leaf. So those are going to be all the flavorings in there. And like I said, all of the like full details of the recipes are on my website, mealswithmaria.com, or you can go down in the description and pick whichever one you want. The exact recipe will be on there. And then we're just going to cook this on low for 6 to 8 hours. So another good one that you could leave while you're at work. Put into bowls, however many you want, and then just put some slices of crusty bread. I actually sliced mine in the morning and just like left it out so that it dried out throughout the day. You could always dry it out kind of in the oven as well, or just toast it. And then these are just slices of Gruyere cheese that are going over the top. I find Gruyere at Aldi for really inexpensive, so I hate to buy something specifically for one recipe, but I think it's a few bucks for the package of Gruyere there, and I find that it is delicious for this, so that works out just fine. And then a few shreds of Parmesan cheese over each one. And then you just want to put it in the oven. I like to keep mine on a pan because it's like difficult to put each individual little bowl in there. And I will also link these bowls on my Amazon store because these are the best because you actually can cook in the oven with the bowl. And we're going to broil them for 2 to 3 minutes until that cheese is bubbly on top. You could actually even go further than I did. Like mine was kind of pale. You could cook it a little bit longer until it's like really brown and bubbly. But that is just so good and so much cheaper than the restaurant. So grateful to be on camera again. I know so many of you have checked in on me, seen how I was doing, were worried about me not making YouTube like long form videos anymore. And I appreciate you so much. I really, really appreciate this amazing community that we've built on YouTube. And I'm so sorry that I just kind of left you suddenly last spring. Honestly, I don't have a really great story about it. I just got a little bit overwhelmed. My kids are very busy and I kind of need to regroup on who I am as a creator. There's been so much crazy business advice out there over the past 5 years since I started on YouTube. And things have just changed dramatically and I really just needed to get solid with who I am as someone who cooks food on YouTube. And I'm super happy to say that I feel comfortable with it now. So what you're gonna see from me in the future is just delicious food like I've always liked cooking. I kind of got caught into like total budget cooking trap, which I'm naturally a budget cook, right? I naturally create things that are budget friendly, but extreme grocery budget challenges are just not gonna be for me. And then on top of that, I found out about, the terrible ingredients that are in food. And then that led to me being a little bit prescriptive per se. And I'm honestly, it's just not who I am inside. I want to say, do whatever you want, eat whatever you want. There are certain ways that I'm going to feed my family and things that I'm going to cook with, and I'll talk about those. But I'm not, a person who's like going to be creating like nutrition plans and stuff like that. So how do I find my way between those things? Because I'm just a mom and a home cook. And I just discovered that overall, I'm someone who loves cooking and I create content for moms who also love cooking and entertaining. So you're gonna see holiday content from me, seasonal content from me, and just overall delicious food that hopefully you can share with others and your family. So if you're new and that resonates with you, I hope that you'll subscribe. If you are seeing this again and have missed my videos, as I said, I appreciate you. I am glad to be back. Make sure to hit that notification bell, like this video, comment below more of what you want to see. And I've got another soup recipe for you, and then I'll see you in the next one. Next up, we have another favorite. This is Marry Me chicken soup. And that would be good enough on its own, but let's add some gnocchi to it and make it even better. So you want to start off with a couple of tablespoons of it's the oil from sun-dried tomatoes. And then you want to add 1.5 cups of yellow onion chopped. And we're just going to cook that down for a little bit, 3 to 4 minutes. Then we're going to add in 4 cloves of minced garlic, 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, and then just a little bit of chicken broth or chicken bouillon. We're going to end up using 4 cups in the soup, but you want to kind of add that to the pan to kind of deglaze the pan and cook for a couple of minutes, scraping everything up and just really getting that to have lots of flavor. It is so delicious. Like I said, I would just eat that on my own. And then we're going to put chicken in the bottom of your slow cooker. So 1 to 2 pounds of either breasts or thighs, 1/2 cup of diced sun-dried tomatoes. I'm going to add in that onion mixture, the remaining chicken broth or bouillon. That's going to be 4 cups total. And then 1.5 cups of cream or half and half. And then for spices, 2 teaspoons of dried basil, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. And just give that a good stir. And then we're going to get this going in the crock pot, covered for low for 4 hours or high for 2 to 3 hours. Again, this is not one that can go necessarily all day if you're at work, but it's a great thing to start halfway through the day. Or even if you get home from work at like 4, it'll be ready by 6 if you do it on high for 2 hours, especially if you do those thighs. And then you can either take those out or you can just kind of mush them up and shred them in the crock pot. Like I said, sometimes I'm just a glutton for punishment and I will just do it in there. And then I used frozen spinach. So you can use 1 cup of frozen spinach or you can use 2 to 3 cups of fresh. It's just so easy for me to keep frozen on hand for it not to go bad. So that's sometimes what I end up doing. And then 1 package of gnocchi. We're going to cover that and let it cook on high for 20 to 25 minutes until the gnocchi is fully cooked and that spinach is defrosted. If you're using fresh spinach, it's probably going to be closer to 20 minutes because it's not going to be bringing the temperature of the crock pot down. And that is it. This is like pretty much my most requested fall recipe right now. All my girlfriends have tried it and they talk about it all the time. They're like, that gnocchi soup, I eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Maybe not breakfast, but they were eating it for days for lunch and they're just like so in heaven. This one and the tortellini one were their favorites for sure. I think I'm just like a soup influencer now. But that's the last one for today. Like I said, all the recipes are down below in the description box. I hope you loved it. I'm happy to be back and I'm so happy you're here.